Dr. Sayan is renowned for her transformational seminars, workshops, and private sessions with a focus on effective communication, conscious partner selection, and deepening intimacy. She is also the recipient of the top 100 women leaders of the Middle East. Dr. Sayan, I'm so excited to have you today with us.
Me too. I'm very happy that you invited me to speak with you today.
I would love to start with the topic of deepening intimacy, which is something you've specialized in 30, 40 years.
Yes, since infancy.
Yes, yeah.
So, first of all, I was born and raised in Iran until I was about 16 years old, and I left the Middle East, and I've since been in the US for 48 years. I've been working as a licensed marriage family therapist and a PhD in psychology, clinical psychology for 38 years now. And I started in my early 20s working with adolescents who had committed crimes, who had been separated from their families. So I learned very quickly that if we don't learn how to take care of ourselves, if we don't learn how to find out where we are trapped inside of our own thinking and release all of that, then it can go very, very badly to the point where we'll commit crime or we'll get on drugs or we will hurt ourselves or we will hurt other people and we will ruin our future. Now, a lot of people who might be listening to this podcast may not have any of those problems that I started out treating people in mental hospitals or dual diagnosis or residential treatment for criminals. But what people don't realize is that we may be living inside of our own hell, even though the outside of our life could look very fancy.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we talk about intimacy, what I've noticed is that it doesn't matter what socioeconomic background or what educational background or what culture you come from or what your family does for you or doesn't do for you. It's actually really the relationship that you have with yourself. Because the lack of intimacy has to do with where I start with me, the I am.
The thing that's popping to my mind is I'm wondering what made you want to focus on these few different areas. So, for example, what made you want to focus on deepening intimacy, or even obviously communication is super important as well, and effective communication. What made you feel drawn towards really honing in on what it means to deepen intimacy, and why is that so important? And
I think it came from a personal experience in my life where I was very sensitive as a child, looking at how much people hurt each other, even though they didn't really mean to.
Right.
Even inside of families, but in schools, I saw a lot of kids being bullied, a lot of roughhousing between boys and bullying each other. I saw that it hurt me deeply to watch what human beings are doing to each other. And then when I came to the US when I was about 16 years old, I saw that in a very different way, it continues here. In a very different way. I saw that families are split up, kids are coming from divorced families, there's a lot of racial inequality. And so, in a very different way, I witnessed how a lot of teenagers my age were drinking and drugging and sexing, and it was all very foreign to me because I had not witnessed that aspect. And so I became very curious. Like, why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we doing this to other people?
What are we looking for answers for?
Right?
Right.
And then I wasn't able to have any of my relationships with the opposite sex work out, even though on the outside I was very flirtatious and seductive, and I knew exactly how to be for a short period of
Yeah.
time with boys or with men as I got older. Inevitably, it failed. And I became very curious about how come. How come, with all of my education and um, apparent physical attraction
Right.
and
Yeah.
ability to finagle the first steps of a
Right. Yeah.
relationship, why does it all go to hell? Right?
Yeah.
And I'm usually the one breaking it off.
Mm.
I'm usually the one who's bolting out the door before it goes bad.
Right.
And so I became curious about what has relationships work, and because I knew how to treat addiction, I knew how to treat mental health problems, severe abuse cases. You know, I was really good at that.
It was a question
Right.
mark when it came to
And then like the
relationships. Right.
ordinary, like, let's have an intimate relationship for 6 months, I was baffled. It was a complete disaster, failure to no end. How is it that my mom and my aunts and family around me have these 26, 30-year
Right.
relationships with
Yeah.
respect, with love, with it works.
Mm.
And me, I cannot hold on to anything for like 3 months, right? Anything that I would call substantial intimacy. Like I could finagle it even for a year, but it was not close.
What did you feel like was missing? Like,
So what I figured out was that I had never dealt with my own personal traumas. I had never looked at myself. I had studied. I had a glorious career. I had a lot of friends. I looked good. It all looked good on the outside. Nobody looking at my life would question me as a success or my family. It all looked good. And yet inside, there was a person who did not have the courage to be herself. It was all looking good.
and you were how
All the
old at that
trappings.
time? Like
I was
18?
like about 27, 28,
Yeah.
maybe even early 30s when I really started questioning what's wrong here. Um, and then I started therapy. And for myself, rather than helping everyone else, I started really asking myself questions about, what's wrong?
Right.
Right? Why does this person inside of me feel completely and utterly trapped inside of a great looking life? And, all the kudos, all the degrees, the accomplishments at a very young age. I was fortunate enough to have very high ranking positions as hospital administrator, program director. I was writing programs for inpatient and outpatient hospital programs. And yet somehow
There was
I didn't connect to
something.
any of it. It wasn't enough.
Right.
Right. Right. And so I realized that I had never looked at my own um, life, the abuse that I had um, experienced at a young age, the sexual abuse, the eating disorder. I was bulimic starting at the age of 12 because I thought I was fat. When I look at the pictures, of course, it's like crazy to even think that,
Yeah.
but I thought that based on what comment somebody made in school, passing, right? Oh my God, you've gained so much weight. And then I look at the picture of the 12-year-old and
Right.
she looks practically anorexic, right? But, to a 12-year-old, some guy that she likes telling her she's fat, it's like the end of the world,
Yeah,
right?
kids can be mean and sometimes they don't think much at all when they
And
pass
he
a
was my
comment like
friend. I mean, like,
that.
he didn't even like do it
Yeah.
in a mean way.
Right.
It was like
Yeah.
this offhanded comment that
Yeah.
like had me trapped for the next 25 years of my life inside of a fat body.
Yeah.
Right. And no
Right.
matter how much weight I lost, it was never enough, no matter how much I was working out. And I was an athlete. Um, I was on all the soccer teams, the basketball team, the dodgeball team, the volleyball team, and there was never a team enough team,
There's something
right?
about like when you're younger and things able to access you in a very like penetrating way that just has such a lasting effect that you end up having to like undo something that maybe if it was, you know, later in life, probably you'd be able to not let it access you as much. But it's like these days, it's really popular. Everyone talks about, you know, healing that inner child.
Mhm.
And that's like what's coming to mind as we're talking about this, which is,
Yeah,
you know,
and we
become a
don't
hot
even
topic these
realize it. You
days.
think
Yeah.
you think, oh, that incident didn't affect me,
Right. Yeah.
but your mind is snagged inside of this door that half of it is in there. And that's why psychology fascinates me,
Mm,
because we are such amazingly powerful, infinite beings, and yet little things impact that powerful, infinite
mm,
being, and yet and challenge us.
right.
And so when you talk about intimacy, what I realized that I was never honest with myself. I
Mm,
carried this outside image of undauntable, unstoppable, strong, happy, um, successful, educated, witty, you know, and then inside it was like insecure, um, sad, angry, um, and not a friend to myself,
mm,
not somebody
right.
who could even spend 15 minutes, like even 5 minutes without music or a book or TV or a friend or being on the phone or, you know, somehow getting away from myself.
Quietness is hard sometimes, I
Yes.
think. Yes, yeah,
And then
because you have to
listening to
you
myself
have to
talk.
sit with a lot more in a different way, I
Right.
think. Yeah.
And I remember a moment when I was getting trained in Gestalt therapy um, by this genius called Neil Lamper, who has passed since. And he sat me across from an empty chair and he told me that I need to talk to myself. And this mad woman came out of me, this ferocious, angry. And I had never been angry. Like, I don't remember ever being angry.
Yeah.
Up to that moment in my life, I'd never, nobody had
Like,
seen me
who
angry,
is this that's
right?
coming out right now? Yeah.
And I did not speak. I remember he said, "So what does she have to say?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "Nothing." I said, "No, she has nothing to say."
Mm,
I was terrified. I went home and I had dreams of this um, panther, this black panther
mm,
destroying a house. And I called him, and that dream wouldn't stop.
wow.
And I called him and I said, "Neil, I think I've gone crazy. What has happened to me?" And he said, "Just come back
Mm,
and I will help you." So I went back to another workshop with him, and he said, "I need you to be the Black Panther."
mm,
And I screamed and screamed and screamed. Anger that had been piled up, I think, for like 30 years of my life. Anger I had never shown, anger I never allowed anybody to even, I didn't even know I had anger.
mm,
I was cool as a cucumber. Like, you
mm.
couldn't get me angry,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so the intimacy that we get when we get honest with ourselves became an obsession for me. Like,
Mm,
how do you be honest with you when no one is looking, you know, and be your own best friend? And this became a quest. How do I teach people to become their own best friend so that then they can go be somebody else's best friend?
mm,
Because
right.
unless I have that with me, I can't have it with you. I can't have it with my spouse, with my children. How do I teach them? And so, um, and then as a therapist on television, in a culture that requires composure,
Mm,
because I'm from the Middle East, I'm an Iranian woman, I'm also Jewish, none of which, none of which had prepared me. All of them was designed to have me be composed, be elegant, be sophisticated, be anything but honest,
mm,
or let down my
yeah.
guard even for an instant, and especially not with a guy. Oh, you never. I remember being raised to never tell a guy the truth about
Mm.
me, about my family, about my feelings.
Mm.
Um, and so the interesting thing is that my husband was the first guy that I ever was myself with, without
Mm.
even like trying to get anything with him.
Was that because he allowed you to, but also because you were doing the work on working on that?
I think he
Like
came
that.
into my life when I had already decided to be my own best friend
Mm.
and done a lot of work. And I actually met him at one of these transformational workshops. So it was safe
Yeah.
because here he is also
Mm.
doing his own work.
Yeah. And he was
It all worked out. I
open and
recommend that highly, by the way, to
yeah.
anyone who's listening to this. Meeting your partner
You
in
never
a
know.
place where everybody
Yeah.
else is coming to work on themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Um, because you can be assured that this is somebody who already knows that it's important to do the work.
Mm.
You know,
Do you have suggestions for people who, they're listening to this right now and they're thinking, okay, I want to start to become more honest with myself, but where do I start? Like, for example, is it journaling or is it a matter of finding what speaks to you? Like, what have you found when you're working with people when they start to go on this journey, or they're curious, or maybe they're scared, they don't want to open up that, bring through the Black Panther, but they kind of
mm,
want to start exploring it in a way that
well, start wherever you
mm,
feel comfortable.
okay.
I think for me, um, people have their own journey, and I'm a big advocate of no two people have the same journey. We're not all here for the same purpose. I think it's important that you find what speaks to you, whether it's a book, whether it's a journaling, whether it's a workshop, whatever works for you. You know, whether it's meditating um, by yourself in nature, whether it's spirituality, to each their own. I don't think there is one path for everyone. Um, One of the things that I have discovered in the workshops that I do for women separately and for men separately is that um, unless I get comfortable with inside of my own skin as a woman, then whatever you call a woman, I mean, these days it's become, whatever you think you are.
Mm.
I don't want to insult anybody if you're in a man's body and you think you're a woman, or if you're in a woman's body and you think you're a man, whatever suits you. I'm just speaking in generalities right now. No disrespect to anybody. Whatever you identify with is fine. But I have workshops that are for women because I want them to first get comfortable with their own kind, um, and not be in a workshop or in a room working on themselves where they have to think about somebody who's in the group with them. Is this going to be my partner for life? Because then we get distracted, and we're so easily
Mm.
distracted.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I know that that would distract me and wouldn't allow me to be myself. So I separate men and women. But more specifically, in answering your question, where do people start? I've noticed for myself, and I've noticed for people that I work with, that when you have a guide who is trained to be your guide, and they ask you specific questions and they design a pathway for you to reach your inner self where you would never go by yourself. And by the way, 45-minute or 1 hour therapy sessions are never designed to go that deep. They
Mm.
can't. But when you have 3 days or 5 days with somebody who consistently pokes and guides you to go deeper and deeper and deeper to your inner self and ask yourself questions and face yourself, you find answers that you would have never found otherwise. So find these guides, find these people who are capable of doing this kind of work with you and take you inside of yourself. And by the way, I asked the same question of 300 people, and none of them find the same answer.
Mm.
Like,
Right.
so
So
you
it's
might be in a room with
different.
300 people, but your answers are not the same as the other person. So find somebody, I say, who can take you that deep within yourself and have you really face yourself. And by the way, people are often afraid of what they think they're going to find. Inside of us is this magnificent being. And I'm always in awe
Mm.
of what people find inside of themselves. There's this magnificent being that you will absolutely madly fall in love with.
Right. Yeah.
Once you clean him or her up
Mm.
of all the trauma and all of the hardships and all the shame and all the failures and all of the um, things that have happened that you blame yourself for, all of the anger, all of the tears, you find this magnificent person.
And it's okay for it to be messy, right?
Oh,
That
it's messy.
process. Yeah.
It's truly messy.
Embrace it. Yeah.
It's like renovation,
Right.
right?
um, what about like intimacy with another person?
Mm.
What kind of intimacy, like what looks like really great intimacy with you, with another partner? Like
Mm-hmm.
what's something I guess people can kind of, have a peek into or consider and think
Each
about?
person's gonna probably
Mm.
take my answer their own
Yeah.
way, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things that I'm seeing these days that is so not intimacy
Mm.
is that people get too close too fast. They open up everything. Um, they jump into bed and get sexual.
Right. Yeah.
And what I find kills intimacy is too much intimacy, too fast. There's no romance. There's
Mm.
no mystical, magical build up.
Like straight to the point. In a way.
Yeah,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? And so it kills intimacy.
Mm.
It never has a chance. It's like giving birth to a baby in, overnight.
Mm.
That thing has no chance of surviving, right? So for me, intimacy takes a great deal of grace and patience and wisdom and the willingness to really be an artisan
Mm.
and um, be spend time to create it. It's like the word friend. Everybody throws around the word friend so easily. You're
Mm.
my friend. She's my
Right.
friend. He's my friend. You know,
But what does it
um,
mean to be a friend?
friendship
Right.
takes a lot of time and trials and fights and disappointments and breakups and heartbreaks and betrayals and coming back and dealing with and going through a lot of stuff with each other. And you think you made a friend just because you went to a party and you guys got
Mm.
drunk and threw up together,
Right. Yeah.
and the next day you're friends, and for me that's like, um, you know, everything has become way too easy.
Mm.
And so intimacy is a process that um, takes a long, 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 long time to develop with someone, going through a lot of stuff with them and really testing out all the different ways. And for sure, no physical contact
Mm.
for a long time, not even a touch, not even a holding hand, um, really, really allowing spaces, a lot of spaces to build with a person. Um,
Like don't feel like you have to rush into it just
no,
because everyone
no.
else is rushing into it.
And
Right.
everyone else is rushing into it,
Mm.
and we're
Yeah.
seeing the results. And I think it's about, one layer at a time, one layer at a time, getting to know this person, um, keeping your cards close to your
Mm.
chest, not exposing everything right away, and
Yeah.
not having a place to go.
Mm. Right.
It's like
Yeah.
really allowing this buildup of energy between you and another person. Um,
So
letting
actually, sometimes it's good to resist, right? Like, hold
Yes.
back. It's good to resist a little, and
And one of
right.
the things that I noticed that a lot of people don't have these days is boundaries.
Mm,
People don't have boundaries,
right. Yeah.
right? They don't have boundaries because they're not intimate with themselves.
Mm,
You know, it's like having an open door and anybody can just walk into your house and, serve themselves and cook in your kitchen and sleep in your bed and use your stuff and, you know, but in fact, you don't have that. Your door is not open. Not
mm,
everybody walks in and uses your car and your clothes and your jewelry and your food and sleeps in your bed and
right.
uses your shower and like we have boundaries. And
Mm,
yet we don't have boundaries,
right. Yeah.
right? And we don't have boundaries because people haven't taken the time to ask themselves, what is my absolute no, red line? You can't cross that. It's not negotiable. It's not arguable. And it's not changeable.
Mm,
We don't have boundaries. And because we don't have boundaries, then everything becomes okay.
mm. That's why I think the going on that journey on searching is quite important, because sometimes it might be even like your boundaries may initially come from your upbringing, but then it could actually, your genuine boundaries can be quite different to your own
Hmm.
upbringing. And then you have to go on that whole journey to search and see, well, actually, what speaks to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Because your parents can say, you have to get married,
Right. Or yeah, you
right?
have to have
And it
kids at a
has to
certain
be somebody from
age,
our certain family
background,
background,
culture. Right. Exactly.
education, all
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right? Religion. And yet you may go through your journey and find none of those things mean anything to you. And you have your own what's okay and what's not okay, you
Mm.
know. And then again, you may circle back and find out, oh my God, they were right all along,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't want drugs in my life. I don't
Right.
want a criminal in my
Yeah.
life. I don't want somebody who's disrespectful
Right.
to
Yeah.
me. And, all of those
Yeah.
things I may circle back to. And yet, yes, you have to go
Mm.
through your own journey.
My question is like, how do you, from what you've also, worked with a lot of clients and in your journey, how do you know that this thing does feel more genuine to you and it's not external noise? Like,
Mhm,
what are some of the indicators for that?
mhm. Um, I think when you go through the journey of becoming your own best friend, you hear a voice inside of you that speaks softly, wisely, quietly, and actually does tell you
Mm.
that I have value for myself. I honor myself.
Mm.
I don't put anything in my body that's going to harm me. I won't take any actions that are
Mm.
against my values
Mm.
and my principles. You discover that um, you have a gentle no to things that um, repel you
Right.
and are not okay with you,
Mm.
that go against your own grain,
Mm.
that go against your purpose in life.
Yeah.
And so when that best friend is there, it will not forsake your values
Mm.
in order to please somebody else.
Mm. Do you
Even though you may
always,
love them or like
right?
them, you
Yes.
still love you and like yourself
Mm.
even more. Because if I give myself up, if I give up my own self worth and my own value and love for myself, in the short term, I may get you to like me
Mm.
and even please you. In the long term, I'm going to resent myself. You're not going to like me, and I'm going to resent you
You're not going to be
because now
happy.
I gave up something of huge value to you, and
Mm.
you're not going to value it because I didn't value it. So
Mm.
how could you value me when I don't value me? It's not possible.
Mm.
So my first ultimate duty is to honor and value myself and live by my principles and that inner voice that speaks to me
Mm.
about what's good and what's right. But I cannot know that and find that unless it's been really, really a priority for me to spend the time and the money to discover myself and to become my own best friend and to really be intimate with me, so that I have those answers before I come to be intimate with you. So I actually have a real self to present, not
Right.
somebody that I'm only presenting because, oh, please like me.
Right.
Because I really like you. Can you please like me? I'll do anything for you to like me.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then I'm all out to figure out what's going to please you so I can give it to you so you can like me. But in the process, I'm forsaking myself.
Right.
So you're not going to value me anyhow.
You're not really free.
No.
Yes, yeah. That kind of leads me onto the other topic that I wanted to go deeper in with you as well, which is this notion of self-worth.
Mhm.
And, you know, from different workshops that I've attended or, you know, conversations that I've had, it's something that I see popping up. And even for myself, you know, this idea of how your own sense of self-worth will impact the decisions you make or even the things that you go for or the partners you choose for yourself. How do you, what kind of, like, what does self-worth look like to you? And what do you think is kind of the self-worth that you should be, I guess, striving towards? Or, you know, what does a healthy kind of self-worth look like, and where do you think it comes from?
Hmm. I don't know if you remember this, but I had, as a child, I remember asking my mom about God.
Mm.
And my mom said, God is always watching you.
Mm.
I was freaked out. I was like, oh man, I do not want God watching me.
Right.
I want to be able to steal candy. I want to be able to pull somebody's hair and push someone. I want to be able, I want to be able to do things. And this is really bad news.
Yeah.
If like there's this thing that's going to not only watch me, but I can expect hell
Yeah.
at
For
some
that.
point, punishment.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was really disappointed about this God concept. Um, and as I grew older, I became wise enough to really appreciate that. Um, and I got to see that that's somebody inside of myself watching me, dictating to me, looking out for me, loving me, telling me, don't do that. I care about you. And to get my worth from inside of myself rather than the accolades outside of myself, the house, the car, the compliments, the money, the degrees, the job, the titles, the Instagram followers, the love from other people, right? All of it is great. It's really great. I'm not knocking it. I love all of those things too. Yes? Absolutely worthless if the person inside of me doesn't care about me, can't be with me, um, is mad at me, screaming inside of me, hurting inside of me, unhappy with me, disappointed in me, um, feels like a failure, is sad, um, is anxious all the time. So, self worth is, again, back to that intimacy, is the person inside of me being really happy with everything that I'm doing and letting me know that I'm at peace with myself. And you see it on people's faces, you see it in their bodies, you hear it in their voice, um, the frequency that they carry, um, your level of attraction to them, because you can immediately recognize somebody who's authentically loving themselves, who's okay with themselves. And I'm not claiming to be, Mother Mary or Jesus Christ. I'm just saying it's a path that we begin to travel on that leads to ourself and to the love for myself. Um, that I'm really, really okay with me. And, it takes something to get to that.
Yeah.
And um, one of the indicators of it is, if somebody offers you something that's really tantalizing, right? That like you would be crazy to say no to them, right? And everybody else would be like, "Oh, come on, Scarlett, come on, really?"
Right. Yeah.
Right? And the voice inside of you says, "No, I'm not doing that. Not for me." And you're at peace with yourself saying no to it. If even the voices outside are really loud, screaming, and you're like, "No, I'm not doing that." So, for me, self worth is being worthy of your own praise and satisfaction and inner peace and respect.
Yeah.
Really having integrity with yourself.
What does that look like with the clients that you've worked with? Let's say they're looking to build their self-worth. One thing that I guess came to mind is, for example, like boundaries and hearing more of their own voice and being like, okay, these are my boundaries. And slowly, for example, people who are, maybe have a tendency to want to make other people happy or be people pleasing and kind of slowly setting up those boundaries.
I think it's a process. It starts out with what are all the areas that you're not okay with yourself. So it's always from the not to the I am. So where are you not okay with yourself? Where are you displeased with yourself? What are your areas of unhappiness or dissatisfaction or sadness? So first you want to figure out all of the places where you're not
Yeah.
happy, you're not in sync with yourself. You know, um, both inside and outside. Like, are you living where you want to live?
Right.
One of the discussions you and I
Yes,
had,
which we
is
had.
New York,
Yeah, it
is
took
New York
me
the
a
place you want
while
to live,
to go.
right?
You saw a lot of my back and forth. Yeah.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
like, or the relationship am I in? I'm in. Am I settling, or is this truly an answer to everything I always wanted in my life? Am I sharing this thing with this journey with this person that I always wanted? I'm truly blessed. As a confession, I'm truly blessed with the partner I have in my life because I am clear that our souls are in sync. I'm clear that I'm with a soul partner.
And what does that look like?
It's so hard to describe in words, and I wish I was a more masterful communicator than I am, because a lot of times when I go to describe that, it just fail. I fail miserably, but I will attempt this. It's a quiet moment where you are with that person, even watching a cartoon, and your minds are completely connected with each other. Your hearts are completely in tune with each other, and there's a moment that you're watching that cartoon, and something happens there, and you look at each other, and the other person got exactly what you got out of that moment, and you smile, and and nobody else is going to get that, because the two of you are that in sync and that connected. It's about being able to argue and fight and not give up on your point, and they don't give up on their point, and you can get as mad as possible and know full well in your heart that this person is never, ever, ever going to let go of your hand. And they'll
Yeah.
fight it to death with you, but You can argue and, you know, disagree, and yet the heart connection will never stop, you know, and knowing that at your worst, this person will always, always, always have your back.
Mm.
Um, it's truly indescribable, but it's a friendship that you can totally and completely let down your guard
Mm.
and know that that other person is totally okay with you being authentically everything that you are, you
Mm.
know, at your worst and at your best, you know, um, and that the other person unselfishly supports you in what it is that you're up to in your life, even if it's really, really hard for them,
Mm.
and that they have to go through a lot to support you,
Mm.
and yet they will, and make sure you win.
Mm.
You know, those relationships, I think, if you're blessed enough to have that, um, you know, hold on,
Hold on tight,
hold on
yeah.
tight. Yeah.
Which reminds me of the conversation that I remember us having about this idea of like commitment
Hmm.
and how these days, because there does seem to be, this apparent sea of choice, people are less more they move on more easily, or something is broken, like quick to kind of just go the next thing.
Hmm.
And I remember what you said to me was that you would never want to pass on the opportunity to commit to obviously the right person, but because it allows you to have a level of intimacy and depth that you would not have if you had not committed. And I
Hmm.
remember that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Coming from a place where I was always committed to looking good,
Mm.
committed to not making a mistake, committed to not failing,
Mm.
um, and looking bad. I realized that commitment involves all of those things. It
Mm.
involves looking bad. It involves failing over and over again. It involves making horrendous mistakes. Um, you know, and yet what I discovered is that when the commitment is there and you've closed all the doors, you work it out inside of that commitment no matter what happens.
Mm.
And out of that is the rise of the phoenix, I think. It's, you know, when I remember my husband having his motorcycle accident, and they called me, it was during COVID, they called me and from Santa Barbara Hospital, and they said, you know, we have to cut off his leg.
Mm.
And I remember this moment where there was like a frozen um, arrow that went through my spine and hit my throat. And he was, you know, unconscious, and I had to make this choice. And I said, I think you should just kill him. And the
Mm.
doctor was like, excuse me, ma'am. I said, I think you should just kill him. Don't cut his leg, kill him. And I was like, ma'am, I'm sorry, what? I
Mm.
said, no, you can't. Look, you have an option right now. Either you kill my husband or you save the leg. Choose.
Mm.
Because I'm going to tell you this, if you cut off this man's leg, you've killed him. And so I'm asking you to make a commitment to save the leg. Will you do that?
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's as good as dead. So don't cut off the leg,
Mm.
save the leg. And this poor doctor, and he was an Oriental doctor, and never mind the shock that I had just given him about, you know, kill the patient. He also noticed something that he told me later when I met him at the hospital, that I was really fighting for something,
Mm.
that I was fighting for the commitment my husband had, and that
Right.
in his absence, I was standing for something. And a commitment is you never, ever, 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 ever give up. And, you know, he had 38 surgeries. That leg kept failing. it blew up in our bedroom one time
Mm.
because of the infection that,
Mm.
just, I mean, so many, um, surgeries. And the doctor was just like, we're not doing one more surgery on this leg. And I'm like, no, you're going to
Yeah.
do as many as it takes to save this leg. Right. And so now he's walking.
Wow.
And I think commitments are like that.
Mm.
Even if all the voices outside of you are telling you, you can't do this, it's not going to work, this is wrong, whatever, that in the face of all of that, you stick to your purpose and you stay the course and you never give up believing in what it is that you committed to
Mm.
and you stay with it. And for me, it's worked. Once I
Mm.
discovered how brilliant and miraculous the world of commitment is,
Mm.
like, you know, it's in a way, it's kind of stubborn.
Was it once you like for you, you discovered that he was your soulmate and he was the partner worth committing to, and then making that decision then to commit to both of you
Yes.
together? Yeah.
And it's a declaration. You say this person is, you know, the person that I'm willing to commit to and work out everything inside of this commitment with this person. And, people think that it's an easy path. It's the path to hell.
Mm.
It's the hardest thing ever to make that commitment. You know, it's like committing to your health and being constantly tempted with the most delicious, unhealthy food and saying no. And then
Mm.
really staying with eating healthy and working out and caring about yourself and it's like that. That's the commitment part, you
Yeah.
know. It's avoiding the temptation.
Mm. Right. A lot of people might think that sounds really hard, but it's
It
worth
is.
it. Yeah.
It is very
Right.
hard.
Yeah.
And I think when I look at people who are constantly going from partner to partner
Mm.
and thinking that, you know, the next guy or the next woman is going to be it, instead of first figuring out what is it that I ultimately want in a
Right.
part in for myself first, but then in a partner as well. And then finding somebody
Mm.
who has the qualities that you want, but more important than that, who is willing to grow and become that person,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Right.
And then being willing to make a commitment and then working everything out inside of that commitment.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think that's the true magic.
Mm. So it's like finding the internal qualities that really match, and it's something that you really want, because a lot of the external things can change. And if you're a match with those things, then deciding and going through that commitment journey
Hmm.
and is worth it.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And then yeah,
It's been my
it's,
pleasure to be here. Really, thank you.
thank you.